Hello everyone. So welcome back to the Python classes. Let me write it here. So I'm gonna say it as this happens to be the Python class day 3, and today we are gonna discuss with the data types. And yesterday we started with respect to the data types. Today will be the continuation part of that. Any which ways, let me share the screen immediately. Let me come back here for the file. Let me go to data types 1. And in the last class, we were discussing about what is data type, what is the need of it, what are the different types of data types that are available, why Python is called as dynamically typed language. So these are the things we were discussing. And as I said, we have 14 data types in Python, out of which first 5 are considered as a fundamental data types, and remaining are like, intermediate one, very rarely used. And when it comes to from point number 9 to 13, that is list to dictionary, list, tuple, set, frozen set, and dictionary. These are considered as the advanced data types in Python. So we are gonna frequently use these things, because of these data types itself. So Python, got more and more features. That is what I can say. And we started with the int part. So integer, float, and complex boolean, these things are done. So we'll quickly go today and see with respect to the strings, and we will also cover it up all the data types which are there as an introduction part. Okay, when it comes to string, in detail I have to explain, more concepts are there on this. And list, tuple, set, and dictionary also, in detail I have to explain, but today it would be like a introduction part. What is list and what are the basic things in this, what is tuple, basic things in the tuple, and so on, right? So let me quickly start with the concept of the day. So we have already gone through this. If you have not watched the previous day video, day 2, first you watch that, then you come and watch this one, because this is a continuation part of the data types, right? We already, speak on this, the different kind of representation, all those things. So I would directly go up to the, the string concept today, introduction with respect to the strings. Yeah, strings is what I'm gonna speak now. Before speaking on this, let me directly take you to the coding part. So in this, if in case if I want to represent a integer, I'm gonna consider maybe a is equal to 10, and in the next line itself, if in case if I print it as print a, and also if I tell it as print the type of the a, then I am gonna consider this happens to be save and execute. You can see it is showing it as integer. The same thing applies if I make it as 10.5, save and execute. It is gonna show me as float. So this is what we have seen already. So 10 plus 2j. So save and execute. It's gonna show it as a complex. And if in case if I consider it happens to be the true, save and execute it, it's gonna show me as boolean. So int, float, complex, boolean is what already we have covered in our last class. Now today is the time to understand the strings concept. So string, if you want to take up, so you can consider it as the in the other languages, if you want to represent a string, you have to take up double quote compulsorily. Here Python is giving you two options. So one option is whenever you are writing a string in a single line, you can use a single quote. I will consider it as my name, SAGAR, save it and execute it. Yes, it is acceptable, and it is showing data type happens to be string. And in the same way, so in the next line, I'll copy it and paste it back, and I would like to consider it in a double quote. And when I consider it in a double quote, save it and execute it. So it is going to consider the string as well in the double quote. Absolutely, there is no problem with the single quote as well as in the double quote. So this is what I'm going to consider now. Just copy it. Yes. So I'll open it once again. I'll tell it as file open, and it has been there present in the music folder, and maybe the interesting minds, and day 3 maybe the demo one, which I open it and minimize it, close this one, and come back here, select all, copy it, After copying it, coming back to the notes, and once I come back to the notes, maybe I'll have a couple of examples. Let me remove this one and paste it back here. You can see now, right? So here already the typed notes is there, only the programming part I'll do it there and copy paste it here. Remaining already will be present, so I'm gonna read it once for you. str represent the string data type. A string is a sequence of characters enclosed within a single quote or double quote. That is what I've shown just now. By using single quote or double quotes, we cannot represent a multi-line string, string literals. Really? Let me check it out. You can observe now. I'll come back here and I would like to say it as maybe A is equal to, let me consider it as a single quote itself, and Sagar, okay. So what I can say, yeah, I love my country. Okay, this is what I'm gonna take it out in the multi-line. If I save and if I execute, it is going to show me a syntax error, which means multi-line single quote is not acceptable. Okay, boss, what to do next? I'll try it out with the double quote and check it out. Really, it is gonna work or not. And again, it is scolding me for multi-line, single quote and double quote are not acceptable. Okay, fine. Then I'll be, okay, let me cancel this. And I'll be considering it as a triple quote. And let me put it as a triple quote here also. Let me save and execute it. Yes, it's working. I love my country. So multi-lines, if you want to write, multi-line string, if you want to use, you should go with respect to the triple quotes. That's great. So I'm going to consider this one, copy it, come back here. I think already example is there. I can paste a new example for you, right? For this, we need to use the triple quotes or triple double quotes. That is also acceptable. You can use both the things. The triple quote, whenever you are writing, it need not to be in a single quote itself. You can have it in this way, 1, 2, 3. And again, come back here and you can take it as 1, 2, 3. This is also acceptable, right? But I feel triple single quote is good one. So when you compare with the triple double quotes, right? I'll minimize this one. Let me come back here and paste it back. Okay, let me see what are the other points that are there. We can also use the triple quotes, to use a single quote or double quote in our string. That easily, we can explain it out. I'll remove this one. Let me come back to my program. So let us take some new examples. I'll take S is equal to, maybe in the single quote, I'm gonna consider it happens to be, maybe. I will consider it in this way. The national animal of India is, maybe we could consider it as, okay, why to take such a long statement? I will consider it as we are learning Python here, right? So whatever I have taken it out, let me print it once, and type happens to be string. I don't want to take it again. So if I save and execute, it's gonna work fine, no problem. But the point is, if in case if I want to put this Python as a highlighted one, I want to put it in a single quote. In that case, see, you can see it is already showing the black color, which means it is not acceptable there. It is showing the syntax error. Then what we should do, if a word has to be put in a single quote, then the outer quote must be double quote. That's all. Inside the double quote, you can have a single quote, save and execute. This is acceptable. So I'll go to the next line, maybe copy it, paste it back. And if in case, if I do the same mistake, I'll put it as in a double quote, and again it would say it is not acceptable. So outer quote I will consider into a single quote. This is acceptable. write, save, and execute. Yes, this is also acceptable. What if I want both the things in the same line? I will paste it back. We are learning Python here from Sagar. So in this case, if you want to put maybe my name, and if you want to consider the Python in the double quotes, so I'll put my name in the double quotes for a while, and you can see that it is not accepting. So then we have to go for a triple quote. So we'll consider it as a triple quote now. Here also we are going to consider as a triple quote. Then you can see save and execute. So it's going to work for this, right? So this combination of quoting you have to understand with respect to the strings as a very basic. But there are so many things are there with respect to the strings in Python that you need to understand. As the days progress, you will get each and everything. Let me copy this. After copying this, let me close this one. No, let me minimize this and let me paste it here. Okay, we can embed it, one string in another string. That is also possible. I'll keep it as a note point, but in the later stage, I'll explain that. And when it comes to the accessing of the string, so let me explain now. I'll get back to the whiteboard and maybe I'll go to the new page. How strings are stored in the memory is what very, very important. So what I'll be doing it here is, let me take a box. And what is a string? String is nothing but a collection of characters. So when collection of characters is there, let me consider some 5 boxes, because my name is a very smaller one and very easy to represent. So I'm gonna keep it like this: 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. Let it be like this. And for every boxes there would be a number which we will call it as an index. Technically I'll tell it as 1 and 2 and maybe 3 here and maybe 4, and it would always starts from 0. So 5 means 0 to 4. That is what we can consider, right? Yeah, it's 4. In the last class already I've told, in Python everything is considered as an object. So if I'm speaking about string data type, this is also an object. So how object representation that we are going to do? So I'll be writing like this and marking it like this, right? Yeah. So now I'm gonna have a memory address for this. What is this 1000? It's nothing but a memory address, a random memory address. I'm giving it this. And I will say it as, this is my string data type, but internally when you're speaking in terms of memory, it is string object. Now I have taken it as S. So S is pointing to this object in the memory. So this is how when you store a string internally, it is going to store like this. As of now, nothing is there. So I'm going to consider few characters here. So let me tell it as SA G A, and let me write it here as R. Yeah, so this is how it will be stored. Now when you are creating a string internally, it would be stored like this, like a string object, and a variable, S variable will be pointing to it. Again guys, in detail with respect to the memory and in detail with respect to variables, types of variables, everything I'm going to explain. So it is all depends on the time. We need some time to explore all those things, as we are in the initial days of the Python classes. So very basic things is what I'm telling now. So once this basics, if you have a clarity, so when we reach to the complex extent, you'll be getting clarity on all the things that I'm going to speak. Maybe a variable or a method or an operator or a data type or an object, everything, right? So consider this, image. Based on this, if I want to access a string or if I want to access a character, so how to do that is what we are going to see now. Let me share you the screen, minimize this, go to this, cancel this one. S is equal to, in the single quote, I'm going to consider it as my name. And if I want to access the entire string, accessing can be done like this, like you can display it, right? So I'm going to tell it as print s. After that, what I'll be doing, if I want a single individual characters that I can easily access like this, I would say s of 0th index. I told you, right, there would be a position for the position numbers will be there. So that is what technically we'll call it as an index. So if I want the index, I have to use the square bracket like this, and I have to tell the index number. And if I save it and if I execute it, whole string will be accessed. And from that, one character also is accessed, right? Whichever the number you want, you can access it. Say suppose I'll copy it and paste it back, and I would like to say it as maybe 3 SAGAR. In that, okay, A is what I'm gonna get it back, 0 1 2 3. I hope I'm completely clear with this, right? So let me copy this, come back to my notes and paste it back here before going to the next concept. Now the point is, the next concept is all about slicing the string. First of all, we should understand what do you mean by slicing. Where we use this word slicing, if you have a cake, somebody will tell that, please give me a slice of the cake. Or if you have a watermelon, you'll cut into parts. So a piece of anything, we'll call it as a slice. And you have to see some of the movies, like, especially the Telugu movies, the heroes will be telling that, Narakesta. What do you mean by that? I will slice you. That's what they'll be telling. So here also, when you have a whole string that you can cut into parts, you can access a portion of the string. That is what we are going to call it as a slicing operator. So how the slicing operator is going to look like? Slicing operator is going to look like, square bracket. And this is what we'll call it as a slicing operator, which can be used to retrieve the parts of the string. In Python, strings follows 0-based index. This is what you have to remember. If you remember the diagram, I've started with the 0, right? It started from the 0. So from 0, it will continue. And along with that, the index can be either positive or negative. This is the craziest thing about Python. In other languages, if you go, only positive indexing will be there. When it comes to Python, you have positive index. Along with that, you have negative index. What do you mean by that? Positive index means forward direction from left to right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. Negative index is also there. If you take up a string, so it will come from left to right. From right to left, if you take in the backward direction, then we are going to call it as a negative index. It means that, let me come to my same diagram. So for this, I have to put a negative indexing. So how I can put the negative indexing? Say, suppose, let me click here, 1 second. Yeah, I will start it from here. -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'll tell it as -5. And here I will tell it as -4. And here I will tell it as -3 and -2. And I will scroll it a little bit. And I'm going to tell it as -1. Remember, whenever you are coming in the backward direction, there is nothing called as 0. It will always start from -1 and it will move in the negative direction. This is all about positive and negative indexing. Now, coming back to the screen. Yeah. So positive index means left to right, negative index means from right to left. So based on this, let us have one simple example for the day, how it is gonna look like. I'm gonna consider it like this. Maybe coming back to this. Yeah. What I can take, what I can take. Okay. Sagar is teaching Python. So this is my whole string, sort of which if I want to access now, maybe it starts from 0 character, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the space, 6, 7, 8 is the space, 9. So I'm going to tell it as 9. So save it and execute it. Can you see? I'm getting exactly S, and for the position index number 9, so I'm getting it as T. So this is related to positive index. Can we access using the negative index? Let me see that also. Copy it, paste it back. Time being, comment this one. So I'll tell it as, maybe I'm gonna remove the space here. Okay. So after removing the space, I'll put it as -1 here. -1. So that means I should be getting N, right? Can you see here? We are getting it as N. So in that case, if I continue -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll tell it as this is -5, and later you remove the commenting, save it and execute it, and you're getting this. So you can access the string, or you can access the characters which is present in the string using positive index, also using the negative index. This is what you have to keep it in the mind. Now, I've told about slicing. So I need a portion. So if I need a portion, so I'm gonna consider like this print. Maybe I'm gonna consider the string and square bracket, the slicing operator. So I'm gonna put a colon here. So left to this colon, whatever I'm going to write, it's a starting index. Starting index in the sense, if you don't tell anything, it will start from 0. Say suppose I will tell I want it from G. Okay, I'll not tell anything, don't worry. I'll tell it in the next example. So I want it to go till, okay, ending point also I will not tell. Let me see. So if I don't tell starting point, it will start slicing from the 0th index. If I don't tell ending point, it will go up to the last one. So that means the entire string should come back. Yes, Sagar is teaching Python. So completely it is, we're getting the result. Now in the next line, I'll copy it, I'll paste it back. I'm gonna give this one, start from 3 and reach up to maybe 9. So this portion you have to slice it. You can see. So in the SAGAR, it started from A, 0, 1, 2, 3, A, and it reaches till 9. 9 means it is exclusive. It is not going to include the last part. If it is 9, it will stop at 8 itself. But if you tell 3 in the beginning for starting, it will start from 3 itself. So whenever you are doing the slicing operation, the starting index is inclusive and the ending index is exclusive. This one point you have to keep it in the mind. And if in case, if I copy this one and paste it back, and I'm gonna have one more colon here. So I'll be writing few number here. What is that if you ask me? 2, save it and execute it. Can you see? Alternative numbers are displayed if you compare with this. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by this is, I'm gonna have a syntax here for the slicing operator. Let me write it above. Let me type it here. Syntax for slicing operator. Okay, so what is the syntax, sir? What is the syntax means? You have to tell the string variable. So I'll tell it as, keep it as S, or maybe I'll tell it as string variable, and you have to open the square bracket like this. And within that, you have to tell the starting index colon. You have to tell the ending index where it has to stop cutting, and you have to tell the step size. What do you mean by step size? How it should move. So if I don't tell anything, it will go one by one. See, step size means 1. S, after that A, after that G, after that A, after that R. If in case, if I change it to 2, in this example, I've done the same thing. Step size, I've taken it as 2. So what happened? 1, and after that it skipped 1 and it go for G, then it skipped A and it's go for R, and it skipped space, it's go for I. So that is the reason when I saved and executed this, so I was getting the result like this. Is that clear? And step size also, by default it is 1. What if I want it in the reverse way? This is the most important interview question. Wherever you go, people is going to ask for this. Can you reverse a string? You can easily reverse a string in Python. How? By using the slicing operator. I will I will not take a, starting point. I will not take up an ending point, but the step size, I will reverse it by telling it as -1. Instead of starting from left to right, you please come from right to left. That is what I'm going to say. So what I'll be doing it here is, let me save this and let me execute this. Okay. I have to give S, sorry. Yeah. So I'm gonna continue like this. Can you see? The whole string now it has been reversed. And anybody, if they ask, so can you reverse a string in Python? So you can do it in 10 seconds. Not, even you can write it, the syntax in 5 seconds, right? Easily you can reverse a string. Reverse a string using slicing operator, right? This is the most important one. Like this, you can keep, doing the exercise activities with respect to the string. The things that you should remember is always, maybe I will write it here. Starting index is inclusive, and maybe I'll write it in a document format. So next one happens to be ending index is exclusive. That means if you tell, it will stop at 7 itself. And default step size is +1. This you have to keep it in the mind. I hope I'm completely clear with this. Select all this, come back to the notes and paste it here, right? So we have one more example with respect to string. What is that? If you ask me, let me come back here and cancel this one. After canceling, I have S is equal to maybe. Okay, I'll introduce a character for you. So which happens to be Asubu. Okay, so instead of taking some XYZ person name, so why to hurt the the feelings of the people? So I'll consider it as a funny name. I mean, like a comic name. So consider it as a Subu. So this is my string. So I want this string to be, checking the length. How many characters are there in this? That is what I have to check. In Python, everything is easy for us to identify. So I'm going to tell it as print s. After that, I will tell it as the function is length, and tell me the length of s is what I'm going to tell. Save and execute. You can see it is clearly telling there are 5 characters. Am I completely clear? So I want to, multiply this string, so that multiplying the string is possible here. I will consider it as maybe whatever the value is there. Consider it as s1, s into 3 I will do, and in the next line I will tell it as print s1, save it and execute it. You can see you can multiply the strings, so using the star symbol or like dot operator. So this is also possible in the string. So like that, various of features are there, guys. That's what I've told you. Today I'm giving introduction to the string, but again I'll come back after maybe 2 or 3 classes. Again, I'll start up with respect to the string, where in detail about the strings I will speak. What are the built-in methods that are there? What are the programs that has been asked in the interview? Everything in and around with respect to the strings, I'm gonna speak. But as of now, I want to show you with respect to multiplying the string and followed by the length function. So let me copy this one, and after copying this, go back here and below this example, paste it. And I would like to tell it as example, maybe example for the length function, and followed by, here I would like to tell it as example for multiplying the string. This is what I'm gonna have it here. Okay. So apart from this, some more concepts are there. Wait for it. I'll certainly come back and I'll be explaining about all these things. Now, let us see a note point. Out of 14 data types that you have seen, so in Python, first 5 are considered as a fundamental data types. This is very important. If somebody asks you what are the fundamental data types in Python, you have to tell it as int, float, complex, boolean, and string. So in Python, we can represent the char values also by using the string data type. Explicitly, char type is not available in Python. What do you mean by that? So in other languages like Java, so if you check it out, one character, if you take it, is considered as a character. Say suppose I will consider x is equal to maybe s. So if I tell it as print the x value, and in other languages it is considered as a character, but in Python there is no concept of character. There is the only concept of strings. So I would like to tell it as print the type of the x, and if you take a single character or a collection of character, it is string in Python. This is what you have to keep it in the mind. Let me copy it and minimize it, come back here, paste it. Clear with this, whatever I've told? Yes. So long data type is available in Python 2, but not in Python 3. This note point, you have to keep it in the mind. So in Python 3, long values are also, represented by using int. This already I've told you. So in Python, we can represent char value also by using the string type explicitly. The char type is not available. This you have to keep it in the mind, right? So with respect to strings, it is done. So remaining data types also we are going to see now. Keep observing. So now let us move on to the next concept. Let me close this one. So let me go to the folder. I think part 1 is done. So in the day 3 folder, let me go to the data types 2, and let me start with respect to a brand new concept. Whenever you are watching the recorded videos, so you can listen it multiple times, and still if you are getting any doubt, you see the notes part, and after seeing the notes also, if in case if you have any kind of doubts, then you can message me in the group, so I'm gonna revert back to you, or you can put me a personal message of the doubt by taking the screenshot. I can explain you separately, right? Yes. So typecasting, data type is we have understood. For every data there would be a type. So then what is this casting? What is typecasting in the other language? If you have already studied, you would be knowing the meaning. If you are studying for the first time, let me explain. We can convert one type value to another type. This conversion is called as typecasting or type coercion. What do you mean by that? You have an integer data type. That integer data type, can you convert into another data type? That is what they're telling about, typecasting. Let us see what is that. The following are various inbuilt functions for the typecasting. If you want to convert into integer, you have to use int function. If you want to convert into float, float function. Complex conversion, if you want, complex, boolean, and string. They're telling about the fundamental data types and its typecasting. Let us quickly start with respect to the integer part. So I'll take up the integer one. We can use this function to convert values from other data types. It may be a float, it may be a boolean, into integer. If you want to convert into integer, then you have to use the int function. So let us see how it's gonna work. Let me take into the ideally, and let me consider maybe a is equal to, I'm going to consider it as 1 2 3, and let me print it for you once, and let me print the type for you once. So save it and execute it. It is integer. Now, what they're telling, from other data types, if you want to convert into integer, you have to use the int function. So I'm gonna consider it as 0.5. Save it, execute it. It is floating data type now. So whenever it is a floating data type, so they are saying that if you want to convert, take it as a is equal to int of 123.5. So if I save it, and if in case if I execute it, it is going to consider only the integer value by ignoring, the point values. So that's how it is trying to convert into the integer. So whenever you have a floating value, it has been successfully converted into the integer value, but the point is the floating numbers will be missed out. Only the integer numbers will be considered. Is that clear? That is what they are trying to tell it out here. Let me take a next example. If I consider it as maybe float is done, I'll take it as a complex. B is equal to 10 plus 5j, and I want to convert this one. B is equal to, okay, let me show you the type of it. Paste it back, and let me consider this happens to be B and this happens to be B. Save and execute. That is showing me complex. That's fine. But when I come back here in the next line, if in case if I tell B is equal to int of 10 plus 5j. Okay, how many of you feel that this conversion is gonna happen? Okay, just observe now. If I try to convert a float into integer, it is happening by ignoring the point values. But when I try to convert a complex into a integer, so will the conversion will happen? Let us see. Save it and execute it. So it is giving me an error saying that it's a type error. So it cannot be converted into a int. Complex cannot be converted into a int. I'll copy the same thing, whatever the computer is telling me the answer. So I'm gonna paste it here by commenting, right? So this conversion is not possible. Let me take up some other example. Say suppose I'll take up a Boolean one, and let me consider C is equal to int of true. If I only take true, it's a Boolean. So I'm taking the reverse of it by doing the typecasting. Let me print C, save and execute. Remember, so whenever you get an error in Python, so that error would be there, so it will not go. So you have to comment this line. I will comment it, save it, execute it. So for the C, it is showing that one. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll put all the other things into comment. That could be the easy. Multi-line commenting, how you can do means using triple quotes. Single line comment by using hash, right? For that, separate explanation is not required. I think so. Single line commenting, use hash symbol. Multi-line commenting, use the triple quotes. So save it and execute it. Yes, conversion is possible. You can see it is showing it as 1. So this combination is going to work out. You can convert it, right? And what else? String. So I will consider this happens to be my name itself, and maybe I'll tell it as print the D. So save and execute. It is showing. That's fine for me. But if in case, let me take it above. Yeah. If in case if I tell it as D is equal to int of SAGAR with a single quote, and if I try to print this one, save and execute it, it is going to give me a value error. So it's saying that you cannot convert a string into an integer. So this combination is not gonna work it out for us. Is that clear? So invalid literal for int with the base 10. So that's not gonna possible here. Clear with this for everyone? So with the int type conversion, what are the things that is possible? So let me copy all these things, minimize it, come back here for the example and paste it out. Okay, let me see what is there in the next one. It is saying that, okay, we can convert from any type to int except the complex type. So string also, it's not possible. If we want to convert string type into int type, compulsory string should be containing only the integer value. Then you can, do the conversion. Okay, let me check that also for you. So I'm gonna remove all these things. I'll tell it as s is equal to 10, and this 10 I will keep it in a single quote. So now if in case if I print it and I will tell it as yes, and I will tell it as print, and I will tell it as print me the type of s. And if I save and execute, see the data is 10 because I enclose with a single quote. It is a string in nature now. Now within a string, I mean within the quotes, if the data which is present, if it is a integer, then the conversion is possible. That is what they are telling. So s is equal to int of s. Maybe I would like to convert it in this way, 10. Okay, save it and execute it. See, now it has been successfully converted into integer. This is possible, right? Copy it, come back, paste it here, select all, copy it, come back, and where is that point? Yeah, so below this, I'm gonna paste it for a reference, right? Let me have it as a example. Clear with this, guys? So string to integer conversion is possible, but within the quotes, if you have an integer value, if not, it is not gonna possible. So this is all about integer typecasting, the conversion part. Let me take up with the next one. I'm gonna consider for float. We can use the float function to convert other data types, data type values to float type. So note, we can convert any type value to float type except a complex type. Okay, agreed. Let me see in terms of example, then only we'll get a clarity on this. Whatever may be the points that is present here, no issues. Whenever we are trying to convert string type to float type, compulsory string should be either integral of floating point, literal, and it should be specified only in base. That's cool. Let me check it out. Cancel this one. Maybe f is equal to 10.5 is what I'm gonna consider. Okay, we have to convert into integer, right? So I is equal to 10. Let me print it as I. Let me print the type of it, like, print the type of I. Save and execute. As of now, it is there in the integer. Can we convert into float is the point. So I is equal to f of, I will convert into the form of float 10. So save it and execute it. Okay, now it has added the point and it is saying that this happens to be float. So int to float conversion is easier. There is no problem at all. So the same thing, I'll continue with the next one. I would say I is equal to float of true. So Boolean to float conversion, is that possible? Let me check it out. Yes, it is possible. True means 1. It is taking 1.0. That means this conversion is also possible. Here itself, I'll write it. Maybe int to float. And here I will convert it as bool to float. The conversion is happening. Next one is, maybe I'll tell it as float of 3 plus 2j. Is that gonna work? Absolutely not possible because type error you cannot convert complex. That's agreed. And as a point, I'll paste it here. The next one is that string, maybe I is equal to float of, I would like to tell it as 10. Save and execute. Again, the same thing. If it is a complete string, then you cannot do the conversion. I'll put a commenting line and paste it here. Now observe. So if in case if I have a value, let me check it that also. So I is equal to, I'm gonna consider this happens to be like float of within the string 10.5. So then the conversion is possible. Okay, the previous error itself it is showing. Let me comment this one, complex one, and let me check it out. Save, and this also I will comment it. Save and execute. Value error. I'm sorry for this. This is what I'm supposed to paste it there. For the string, direct conversion is not possible. And now I'll consider this one by commenting it. Save and execute. Now the conversion is possible. Yes, it is. So I would like to tell it as maybe, okay, just a point itself I'm gonna give there. So copy it, minimize it, come back here. Before this example, I'll paste it here. Now you read the points, you'll get it. We can convert any type value to float type except the complex type. Yes, we agree. Whenever we are trying to convert string type to float type, compulsory string should be either integral or floating point literal, should be specified only in base 10. That means within the quotes, if the value that is having is integer or if it is a float, then the conversion is possible. If not, no possible, right? Yeah. Next, we move on with the complex. So when it comes to the complex one, so we can use the complex function to convert other types to complex. So we'll go with respect to the form one in that. What is this form one says? We can use this function to convert x into complex number with real part x and imaginary part as 0. What do you mean by that? Let us observe now with an example. Maybe I'll cancel this one. Let me consider it in this way. Complex for C. Okay, C is equal to, I would like to consider it as 10 plus, okay, only 10 into 2 complex is that conversion is possible. We'll check it out. C and print the type of C. Save and execute. It is integer. Integer to complex conversion is possible. Let us see. C is equal to complex of 10. Save and execute. The conversion is possible. Whatever the integer we are given, it is taken it as a real part and imaginary part is added by the behavior. So the conversion is possible. So I can easily say that into 2 complex conversion is happening here. And in the same way, I'll check it out for float. It would be working it out. C is equal to the complex of 10.5. Save and execute. Yes, it is accepting. So I can easily copy this particular line and paste it back, and maybe this time which conversion is happening, float to complex conversion is happening. So C is equal to, next one, the complex of maybe true. Save and execute it. conversion is happening. That's great. And I would like to tell it as Boolean to complex conversion is happening. That's great. Maybe C is equal to complex of 10. So save and execute it. This is not possible. It's showing the value error for the string. Close it and come back here, paste it. So in case C is equal to complex of, and I would like to tell it as maybe 10 itself. So then if the conversion is happening, above error itself it is showing. Let me comment this one. Yes, conversion is possible. Yes, so this is the point with respect to complex. Let me consider this one. And when it comes to form one, let me go for example and paste it back. Right. So what is the form 2 says? So in the form 2 says that we can use this method to convert x and y into complex number such that x will be the real part and y will be the imaginary part. So for that also, let me have some points here. Cancel it. Let me directly consider it as C is equal to, I would like to tell it as complex of, I can give two values. So 10 comma, maybe I'll tell it as 2. And in the next line, I would like to print C and also print its type of C, right? Okay, save and execute it. So it is showing 10 plus 2j, you can see that. So it is giving you back the result. So I'll copy this one, come back, paste it here, select all, copy this, I'll minimize this, come back here, form 2 and paste it. So you also type and execute this one so that you'll be getting the complete clarity. So then only you will understand. So otherwise, you will not have the entire vision. Just if you listen to it and if you keep it quiet, you'll never get it. You have to type and execute it. Okay. So the last one happens to be the Boolean part. So when I start with respect to the Boolean part, again, the same kind of conversion is what we are gonna check it out. So generally, so for the Boolean type, the typecasting is, that much not required because only true or false, zeros and ones will be there. But still, I would like to show you some example for that. I'm gonna consider it like this. Maybe B is equal to Boolean of 0. 0 means integer is what I'm trying to convert. And I would like to print the B, and I would like to print the type of B. Save and execute. So yes, it is possible. It is converting into Boolean. That's why 0 means false. It is clearly showing it up for us. And my doubt is, if I consider this line and if I paste it back, and if I consider it as some number as 8, save and execute it. Still it is showing true, maybe for positive number. And what if my guess is that I'll take it as -7, save and execute it. Still it is showing true. Okay, apart from 0, if any other numbers are there, means it would be showing it as true. That's how we can consider the point. And later, if I consider the Boolean, what will happen? Let me see. I will consider 2.5. Yes, it is giving me true. That's fine. And only possible case for the float is that if I consider 0.0, save and execute. Okay, then it is false. Okay, if it is 0, it is considering 0. Any other number, it's considering it as true. That's okay. So what if I consider a complex number? I'll paste it back, and later I'm gonna tell it as 0 plus 0j. I'll start with 0. Okay, it's giving me false. What if I start with a number 5 plus 2? It's giving me as true. Okay, that's fine. So any conversion that if you do, if it is 0, it will false. Otherwise, any other number if you take, it is gonna consider as the false itself. 0 is false, and any other number will be considered as true. And maybe string, I'll check it out. Let me consider this happens to be my name itself. So it's gonna give it as true. Yes, that is my name. So it's giving it as true. That's cool. So that conversion for the Boolean can be done. So depending on the values, it is going to decide the true or false. I'll paste it here for the example purpose. So later we can see with respect to the string value. So string type conversion also, it's very important. Let me go for the string conversion. And when we go for a string conversion, I can easily tell it up like s is equal to, if you have a 10 and I would like to convert into the s, and you have to get the type of it, the type of s, save and execute. It would be integer. Can I convert into string? My question, copy it, paste it back, and I would like to tell it as this much, save and execute. Yes, it's there. Conversion is done. So I can give a point here. So into to string conversion is happening. That's possible. And let me go up to the next line. Before that, let me copy this and paste it back. And I would like to convert this happens to be 10.5, save and execute. Yes, it is possible. I would like to consider float into string conversion is possible. And let me go to the next slide. 2 plus j. It's possible to convert into complex. I would like to tell it as complex to string conversion is possible. And s is equal to, maybe paste it back, and I'm gonna tell it as maybe the true, save and execute. Yes, this is also possible. And maybe if I paste it back, and if I consider string into string, what conversion you will do. So these are the things in float, complex, boolean is done. So this conversion, if you are doing, that's well enough, we can do it up. I'll copy it, minimize it, and come back. Now, there are few things which I need to explain. Consider this example. A is equal to 10, B is equal to 10.5, and C is equal to A plus B, and print C. And before this, I want to consider print A, and please print the type of A, and later copy these two lines, and I will apply it for the next line, paste it back, and apply it for the C also, and paste it back. So here I will be changing it to B. Let me consider it as B. Here also B. And here I will be converting this as C. And here I will be considering it as C. Save and execute it. You can see the whatever the 10 I've taken. So this is integer, and next one happens to be float, and integer and float when it is added. So I'm getting it as float. So in this case, the conversion is automatically happening. The end result is float. So that int conversion to float is happening automatically. And this is the best example for implicit typecasting. There are two types in typecasting. One is called as implicit typecasting. So another one is called as explicit typecasting. So whatever you have seen till now, so all these things are explicit typecasting, where I have pasted, sorry. So I'll be pasting it here. And I would like to say like this, after the string here, I'm gonna type it. So as a note point, I'll be telling it. So in typecasting, there are two types, which are those. First one is implicit typecasting. So another one is explicit typecasting. So from the beginning of the typecasting, whatever you have seen, so all those things we are going to consider as a explicit typecasting. So that is the reason. Let me cut this one. Okay, till here it is there, right? Okay. Let me consider till here. Cut this one. Go to the beginning of my notes for typecasting. Yeah, so here I'm going to paste it. You can see now in typecasting, there are two types. One is implicit typecasting, another one is explicit typecasting. So here is the example for implicit typecasting, how the conversion would happen automatically. So I would like to give the answer here. Like here it is gonna show it as integer, and here it is gonna show it as float. Here it is gonna show it as float. So but where the integer went, so automatically it has been converted into float, right? This type of conversion, we'll call it as implicit. And now we are going to consider the explicit, type casting, right? So when it comes to explicit typecasting, you have these things. The following are the various inbuilt functions for explicit typecasting, right? This you have to keep it in the mind. So integer we have done, float done, complex done, boolean done, string done. For advanced data type, how the typecasting is going to work, I'm going to teach you when I take up the advanced data type in detail. Now itself, if I try to introduce all those things, it would be more confusing for you people, that I won't do it. In the advanced data type, when I'm explaining, there only I will take up the typecasting based on few examples, right? So int conversion you have seen, and float conversion you have seen, complex conversion you have seen, and in a complex there are two forms that you have seen, boolean you have seen, string part you also seen. Now fundamental data types and immutability. If you remember the yesterday's class, I've already spoken about this, but today also I will speak it up one more time. What do you mean by mutable? If something is changeable, then it is called as mutable. If something is not changeable, then we are going to call it as immutable. That means, read this point, all the fundamental data types are immutable. What do you mean by immutable? Once we create an object, remember the yesterday's class, once we create an object, we cannot perform any changes on it. If we try to do the changes, then those changes reflects as a new object will be created in the memory. This non-changeable behavior is called as immutability. That is the reason when I take up the integer example in the yesterday's class, I have shown you, if you try to modify it, so brand new object will be created, right? And here also, all the fundamental data types: int, float, complex, boolean, string. All the 5 fundamental data types are immutable. Whatever I've explained yesterday, the point is here now. You can read it up. In Python, if a new object is required, then PVM won't create object immediately. First, it will check if an object is available with the required content or not. If an available existing object is there, then it is going to reuse. That means in already 10 is there in the memory, one more 10 it will not create. Rather than that, multiple references will be given to 10. If it is not available, then only a new object will be created. The advantage of this approach is memory utilization and performance will be improved. But the problem in this approach is several references pointing to the same object. By using one of the reference, we are allowed to change the content in the existing object. Then the remaining references will be affected. On this point, more I'll speak in the object orientation, but as a point you remember. To prevent this immutability concept is required. According to this, once create an object, we are not allowed to change the content. If we try to change those content, rather than modification, brand new object will be created, right? So for this only yesterday, I've given the example, the same example that you can refer. So I'll give you one more example also, maybe in the next one. So next data types that we have to consider happens to be byte. But before going to the byte data type, I have to show you something. So let me save this and close it, minimize it, come back here, go to the previous class, and let me go to the data type 1. Let me come back here. So all these things are immutable in nature. This is what you have to keep it in mind, right? And next, I think I have given an example here. Yes, in Python, everything is object. I'll copy this one, close it, come back here, go to this one, open it, and I'll go to the immutability. Yeah, I'll be pasting it back, right? So you have this heading, then immediately the concept you can recollect it. Now going for the next data type. Before going to the next data type, so let me click here. Yes, so we'll continue with the next data type. The next data type happens to be byte data type, bytes data type. So byte data type represents a group of byte numbers, just like an array. If you have already studied Java, you'd be knowing what is an array in Java. So it's similar to that, you have a concept here in bytes, which more often we are not going to use it, because here we have a concept of list. That is what we'll be using. Very rarely we'll be using with respect to the byte, but still I'll show you the example how it's gonna work. I'm gonna consider maybe X, and I'm gonna consider a square bracket like this. What is this? If you ask me, it is actually a list. Directly we cannot create a byte array or byte in the Python. That is not possible. So I will show you how it's gonna work. Like if I consider 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and if I tell it as please print the X, and if I also tell it as please print the type of the X, if I save and execute, you can see it will be showing us as the list, because anything you write it in a square bracket in Python is considered as list. But for byte, if you want, you cannot directly have the byte. You have to take it like an array, then you have to convert it. Type conversion is required. How you do that? X is equal to the byte, you should be telling it as bytes of X. Maybe I'll tell it as X1 here, and here also let me change it to X1 and X1. Save and execute it. Can you see? It is showing in a byte array format. So when it's showing in the byte array format, it is not that much, it's not like a readable format, so but the data type, it is showing as a bytes, but as a printing data, it is showing it in a different way. So if we want to access this, you can do it in this way. Let me close this one. I'm gonna consider it as print x1 of 0. Save and execute it. See, then I can access that value. But whole byte array, whole byte data type, if you execute it, you'll be getting like this, which is not that much readable format because of the internal structure. But individual character you can access, right? So either I can apply the looping statement on this for I in x1. So for loop is also a bit crazy. I'll explain you as we moving forward. So I'm gonna consider it as print I. So save and execute it. We can see we are gonna get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. All the numbers we can get it back, but very rarely used because of one reason. The memory allocated for this is very, very, very less. Like I can say it like, I'll show you the point, 0 to 256 around it would be there. That's all, not more than that. I'll come back here and paste it. Okay. So conclusion one for this, the only allowed values for byte data type is 0 to 256. By mistake, if you are trying to provide the other values, then we will get a value error. We can go like this, maybe 350, save and execute. See, it's giving me the value error, right? So 0 to 256 is what you can use maximum. That's the one conclusion. Second conclusion, once we create the byte data type value, we cannot change it values. Otherwise, we will get a type error. So if I want to modify it, say suppose, let me go back here to the same program. In this my program, I want to convert which one, x1 of, maybe I'll change it, x of 0th position, first position 30, I have to change it to 90. So position is 0, 1, 2. Okay, x of 2, I want to change it to 90 and later try to print the x. Time being, let me remove all the other things which is not required. Okay, I'll cancel it. You can see now x of 2, I want to modify it. You can see now 10, 20, 90, 40, 350. So these many things are there, right? So when I come back here, let me go there. So once we create a byte data type, okay, I think the conversion has been not done. I'm extremely sorry. X1 is bytes of x. So x1 of 2 is what I should be taking. Yeah, now it will be cut. You can see we'll be getting a value error. So value error byte must be in the range of 0 to 256. We cannot modify the data. That is not possible. Let me paste it back, select all these things, copy it, minimize it. This one, come back to the notepad and coming back here, paste it in the conclusion too, right? Yeah. Similar kind of one more data type is there called as byte array. So for the byte array also, it is almost the same story. There is no much change in this. Instead of byte, I will tell it as this. We are going to call it as byte array. You can see the color coding there. And after that, if you want to print it, you can print it out. So I will tell it as print x1. And this line we have to remove it. So I'm gonna remove it out and let me save it and let me execute it. You can see it is showing the value error, maybe because of the number that I have taken more. And if I save it as 50, the conversion is possible, but it is not in a readable format. That also you can observe. So if I apply the looping on this for I in the x1, and I'll tell you how the for loop is there in the flow statements concept. But just directly I'm taking the for loop. Don't worry on that. Suddenly he's writing so many things. Don't get confused. I'll explain each and everything. So print I. So I'll save it and execute it. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 is there, right? So we'll copy this one, come back here. So the same thing applies it here, and any other extra changes if it is required. So again, the example 2 is nothing but the same thing. Speaking about the range, if I take it as 350, it is not gonna consider, we'll get a value error. Save it and execute it, and value error. This both are almost similar, right? For the lesser values we can use it, like this concept has been taken from, like, Java. So arrays concept, you can have it. If not, select this one, copy, come back here and paste it down, right? So if you try to do this conclusion, you remember the notes part. Next, we are supposed to start with the list. List, tuple set and dictionary, the frozen set. So all these things come under the advanced one. Come back here, go here, type 1. As I was speaking, so int to byte array is completed. Range and none would be completed at the end. The very important thing happens to be list, tuple, set, dictionary, frozen set, and dictionary. This I need some more time to explain in the internal structure format, all those things. Now if I start, it would extend the duration of the classes, which I don't want to do it, which I'll be doing it in the next class. By next class, all these things would be completed, and we'll be starting with respect to the operators. So watch the video carefully and attend the classes regularly. That is what I can tell. Maybe the live classes when the time is there, and followed by type and execute the programs. Read the notes carefully. Still any queries are there, so I'm ready to help you. So that's it for the day 3, I would say, Python day 3. We'll meet in the next class, maybe with the Python class day 4. Till then, have a great day.